I've recently got my ass beat by one of the hardest bosses I've ever faced, and after getting destroyed maybe 100 times, I lost count from getting destroyed from the inside out. It was very unpleasant. And I asked this question after playing all the Arkham games and also playing the God of War DLC. What makes a good boss fight? And in concept, a boss is just a normal enemy, but they look different and they do a lot more damage and have new moves that are way different to a regular enemy. And by looking at all of these factors, I think I have made the perfect formula for the perfect boss fight. Anyways, let's get right into the lab and combine some juices. Number 1, the boss has to be hard. Now, this sounds incredibly simple, but you need to understand one key factor. Skill. When fighting a boss, you're not supposed to beat it easily. It revolves around you using the skills you learned and using it against the boss. And the reason why I bring this key factor up is because of gimmick bosses. I fucking hate gimmick bosses. Instead of you beating the hell out of the boss skillfully, it revolves around you doing this one thing, and after doing this one thing, you can now beat the hell out of him. Not only is this repetitive and boring, but it's also repetitive and boring. I much prefer the bosses that revolve around you, the player, taking your controller and start thinking about some mathematical equations to beat this damn boss. This was a constant problem in Arkham Batman where I had to do this one thing, and by doing this one thing you could beat the boss while he's stunned. Perfect. That is just amazing. Whoever thought of that, make sure to get your laptop, go to a naughty website, and go fuck yourself. And look at this. In the God of War Ragnarok DLC, it had one of the best bosses in the game because it relies on you using your skills to beat the boss. And what's important with the boss is that you have to use the skills provided in the game. And in Ragnarok, it's done very well, but in the Arkham games, it just pisses me off because most gimmick fights are not fun because they just constantly use the same shit to beat the boss. And what's even more annoying is that they make it even harder over time when you fight the boss. But with the Arkham games, it's not really done in a dramatic way. I think the Arkham Knight boss fight was perfect because it relies on you driving the Batmobile in a skillful way, and the gimmick is actually fun to play. Because the gimmick is to drive and destroy the Arkham Knight's weak points, and each section you drive on is just different and adds to the difficulty in a very good way. But I can't say the same about Slade, aka Destro. Sorry guys, I just had a stroke because of how shit the boss fight was. This is how you do a boss fight wrong in terms of skill. Now, this isn't a gimmick fight, but I'm just using this as an example that even when you fight a boss that's skill-based, it's not always good. Now, here's the obvious. This is unbelievably easy. Who called this a boss fight? Because this is one of the easiest bosses I've ever faced in my life. If you have the double dodge for the Batmobile, you've already won. All you need to do is shoot, dodge, shoot, dodge, shoot, dodge. And I normally wouldn't mind this if this man didn't have any attacks that actually risked a death. If you have double dodge, there is no threat. It's just a boss that shouldn't even exist. And it's a shame because Deathstroke is actually very good in this game, but terrible boss-wise. And it's really a shame because I really like the Arkham Knight boss fight, but when this man said like, oh, you have a pretty good tank, wait till you see mine. Now let's get to one important point. The boss has to fit the actual gameplay. For this very point, I will be using a combination of all of my life's problems into one. Ludwig the Accursed. This boss is a perfect example when it comes to staying true to the gameplay and style of Bloodborne. The boss requires you to dodge forward and to be aggressive, And the reason why it's so important is because I think a very good boss are the ones that stay true to the gameplay and style of the game. These type of bosses are the ones that are supposed to encourage the player to use the gameplay and style while also challenging the style of gameplay in the game. Once again, Ludwig is a good example of this because you have to be fast and aggressive, and this boss is insanely fast to the point where you have to adapt to that speed to be even faster. That's what a boss should do. It should be challenging, but also challenge the style of gameplay that you are using, but it's also important to make the boss actually possible to beat. A good example of this is the Hunter. I don't care what anyone says, this counts as a boss. Oh, it doesn't have a health bar on the bottom, so it doesn't count. You know what I say to that? Fuck off. This is my video, not yours. Anyways, this boss is a lot of fun, but there were some problems. When you attack him, he does get staggered, but for some reason, sometimes he just unstaggers himself and parries you, and you might think that once he parries you, the damage is going to be deadly, but not instant, right? Right? And I actually don't have a problem with him unstaggering himself to do that. It's the fact that his gun does so much damage. It is unnecessary for him to do this much damage with his gun. When I use my gun, it doesn't do nearly as much damage as him. And you know what? Give me that. Because I want my piece of American freedom too. And this should be an example for bosses with this type of aesthetic. Please don't do random bullshit like this. Please, I'm trying to use my time wisely. So just please don't do that. Anyways, if you guys have any sort of enjoyment with this video, I think it would be pretty logical for you to like and subscribe for more content like this. And I do like commentary reviews and game reviews. And if you like this video, you're going to like my Bloodborne video. And if you want to watch one of my commentary videos, watch my TikTok video because it's pretty good. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Bye.